Okay, so it's Rory's the Manus Music Project here again. Another open mic night, another incredibly, surprisingly, unbelievably talented group of musicians that just walked in and played. This is Cyrus. He walked in with about 10 minutes ago from the end of the night with a guitar, not even a case for his guitar. I was like, can I play? I was meant to be here hours ago. So, hey, Cyrus, it was really nice
I'm
meeting you.
good. Yeah, nice to meet you as
So,
well.
where have you come in from tonight?
I came from South Ealing,
Okay.
not too far away.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
only a few stops, but I had to drive because obviously the tubes are dead. So.
Yeah, yeah. And we were talking just a minute ago. Interesting, you're born at the hospital used to be next door.
About 20 metres that way, yeah, which is now blocks of flats, but yeah.
Yeah, Queen Charlotte's Hospital, yeah. Amazing. Like, there's so many people in this area. Obviously, we're born in the hospital, now it's not even there anymore, and it's like this bit of history sort of gone, but you're still tied to it. It's interesting. So, your performance tonight was incredible. Like, what was the first tune you played? You opened with Pantera tune.
Yeah, I'm a massive Pantera fan, and
Right.
I just saw them at Download. I've been waiting for it, and obviously the Abbots aren't there, but it was still incredible, and I've been waiting for that for like 20 years, so it was great. But yeah, I came across that like a cover of Great Southern Trainkill, which if you listen to it, it's nothing like what I played.
Right.
And it's by a band called the Bailey Hounds, and it's very nice, sort of low key, but that's where all the chord progressions come from and the chord changes. But I've changed it up again, so it's like my own style, which is a bit bluesy and a bit of a.
Well, talking about your style, like, so incredible guitar playing, like a thumb pick style.
Yeah.
I don't want to say flamenco because it's not, but it's kind of. I mean, how did you arrive at that playing style?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, like a massive metalhead fan, wanted to be like Dimebag or Kirk Hammett or name it, Steve Vai, but I was never quite that good, or I didn't have quite the discipline or whatever. And I played for about 10 years.
When you say young kid, how young are you?
About 13.
Okay, so you started at 13.
Yeah.
And what motivated you to pick up the guitar in the first place?
I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix initially, and then after Jimmy, I got into, and in fairness, I was always into music as a kid. My dad, I told you earlier, he was into his music, and he loved the Blues Brothers, and that was my favorite film ever since I was a baby. So I was always watching the Blues Brothers, and I love those songs. I play a couple of those covers as well, here and there. So I was always into music. And
you said your Iranian background, you're saying?
Iranian background, yeah.
So was Iranian music a thing, or was your dad kind of just gone fully into it?
No, my mum's side, my dad, fortunately, had the good stuff, less painful stuff, let's say. Bless him. Yeah, Iranian pop is an experience which some of you will enjoy and some of you less so.
Like, I'm sure, like with all these things, you got to also discover a little jewel. You might have to wade through some shit first, but there's always a little jewel.
And in fairness, there's a lot of really, really good Iranian music. It's not just like Iranian style pop, which is its own thing. But, there's Iranian blues and jazz and you name it.
I think every country, like you go to Italy and you listen to Italian pop music, which seems to be loads of it. It's not always that great, but then there's some like LP shit, there's some amazing Italian artists. You just like, I guess everybody just got to search them out.
And if you're into guitar music, then I'll tell you what's a real rabbit hole to go down. Sub-Saharan African, West African, East African. They do like psychedelic rock, which is sort of a bit Arabic desert influenced. It's like sort of like think psychedelic stoner rock.
Okay.
But like, I don't know what they're singing about. I can't understand it, but it's seriously some of the best guitar music you will ever hear. It's really, really good.
It's interesting because my background, my family are Irish, so I grew up exposed to a lot of Irish music. So the first music I saw was learning to it was Irish stuff, and I think it still even now influences what I write, even though the stuff I write now isn't Irish music in any way, but there's an influence. Do you find that true of yourself, your own stuff?
With the blues, man.
Yeah,
the blues. Yeah, it's if I was going to pigeonhole myself as anything, it would be a blues musician ultimately, despite all the weird tapping and stuff.
It was incredible, man. The thumb, it's like a thumb picking, hitting the guitar, like it was rhythmical. It was awesome. It was like really exciting and completely different. Like that's what I love about this whole scene. It's like, again, here's just something unique I've not seen before.
I appreciate it. That's really, really kind of you. I got into it because after many years of trying to get into a band and rock and roll and metal, I realized, okay. And then I came across Andy McKee playing, I can't remember what the song is called now, Drifting, where he does like, he's doing all of this sort of stuff. I can't do that. But I was like, okay, there's something in this. And if I could be my own band, then I don't have to rely on other people. And I can, if I can jam with other people, that's great. And I have done, it's been fantastic. But just adding the drums to it just adds that extra dimension and that extra challenge. And that was about, I'd say 11 or 12 years ago that I started doing that. and it was a bit of a journey and lots of sort of failures along the way. Oh, I can't do this, fuck it. Oh, okay, I'll try again. And eventually I found a thumb pick that really worked for me, and that sort of allowed me to do it, which is Fred Kelly slick picks. Look them up. They're sort of even sort of taper on each side, so you can do up and down strokes with it.
Oh, okay.
And you can kind of do it with other picks.
And you can be quite aggressive with it. You can sort of go at it quite heavily.
Yeah, like sort of bass and then snare as the basics of it, and then sort of almost using dead notes as a hi-hat here and there. But yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of people who can do it and do it way better than me. Go on YouTube; they're all over. But I've kind of ended up developing my own style. Found a few like picking exercises on YouTube that really worked for me and sort of got me there, and lots of metronome work and trial and error and trying songs that I would love to play, but I can't quite make it work. And you settle on things in the end, and it's weird what ends up working and what doesn't. So
I love it because it's funny how there's a lot of people do it better than me or whatever. And I think that comparison, like, I remember listening to the Get Back documentary, and Paul McCartney's talking about Long and Winding Road.
Yeah.
I said, when we were writing it, he said, like, we're really, really worried about it because it's such a Ray Charles song, isn't it? And I'm like, I would never have, in my mind, I never would have connected. Now you say it, I can sort of understand the link a little bit. But how he's hearing it and comparing himself.
It's an odd thing to be self-conscious about, I
suppose. When I hear the song, I don't think that Long and Winding Road, that's a real Ray Charles rip-off. That's not what I'm
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's across my mind at all. It's like, it just sounds like Paul McCartney.
That's it. Well, so yeah, I get compliments for it, and it feels great. And, that's one of the reasons I do it, is because, ultimately the music is about the connection. And, when I look back and I'm like, what was it about Jimi Hendrix that I was so enamored with, or Pantera or whatever else? It's because when they played, they made me feel something. And I was like, whoa, imagine if I can make people feel like that as well. And it's not panned out for me in terms of like being in a rock and roll band and everything, but there's still plenty of stuff there. And, I've only just started coming back on the mic circuit after at least 2 or 3 years.
Were you doing a lot? Were you doing a lot before then?
Yeah, so I started again back in 2017. I was doing it with a friend we were like a kind of a duo together. Okay. I love him. I was his best man last year, but he kind of got sick of it. Probably got sick of me. Egos, musician egos like that. But yeah, like he's a fucking fantastic guitarist, incredible guitarist. And I learned a lot from him. It was like having guitar lessons twice a week, just jamming with him. And he was like, "Mate, it's like guitar lessons for me." And I was like, I don't understand why.
It's good when it goes both ways. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did that for a few years with him until about COVID times, and mostly I just was getting my head bogged down in work a lot, like what you were saying earlier. You sort of get buried in your work, and then last year I was like,
"What is the day job?"
Program management in the NHS, so delivering IT systems, changing up services, and that's basically.
Sounds intense.
It can be, and I've just sort of, I've got to a point where I've realised that like burying myself in it, it's just sort of reached that point of diminishing returns, and whatever returns there are, it's like, is that where I want to go? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to knock it. They've treated me really well over the years, and I've done really well over the last 5-6 years out of it. So I'm really grateful to them, but I've had to sacrifice a lot of things I enjoy, like my music and my photography, and just like even like social life stuff. So I decided last year that it's time to make a change. And this year I'm still doing it, I'm still there, but I'm going to make an effort and actually get out there and try and connect with people and play the music and learn the stuff I love, and maybe like find some people to jam with and maybe get a band together or something. And
which brings me quite nicely to, so on my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about the connection between mental health and music.
Yep.
I run a choir based around mental health and connection, and I'm discovering more about this world, how the music and for me personally, I've spoken about it a lot, so people have seen, I guess will know a lot about this. But it's music's always like a life raft for me, and is there an aspect? I mean, Tim, you talk about it. I kind of already know the answer, but this aspect of it for you is in there.
100%. And it's one of those weird, like almost love-hate things, because you love it so much that you want to do your best for it, and then sometimes you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like, oh, I need to try harder, and then but ultimately, it's just about doing it, and there's no greater feeling than when you finally get that song down. Like there's certain songs that like you just can't get, and then there's certain songs where you like keep coming back to them year after year. Like it took me about 7 or 8 years to learn Little Wing. I must have tried it like dozens of times. I kept not being able to do it, and eventually I figured out my own way of playing it in
Yeah,
my own way,
I love that.
and it felt so good, you know. And that's why you keep coming back to it.
Yeah,
And then the only thing better than that is when you play it to someone else and like,
yeah. But that's how I know exactly. There's been a few songs recently. My brother Kieran's a really good piano player, so I never bothered learning to play piano.
Hmm.
And then recently I've discovered I can totally play piano. I can totally play piano.
Yeah.
I'm playing piano on my tracks. It's like, I never would have sat down 5 years ago, 10 years ago to play it, but for some reason now I can play piano. It's really strange. I don't know why I can play piano. I can play piano now. It's like I got plugged into the Matrix overnight, and now I can.
It's just like over the years, one day, and you can't remember what day it was, but one day you started being able to do it, and you don't even know.
Your brain's weird.
It's just that thing of keeping coming back to it. It teaches that bit of perseverance. It teaches that thing of if you value something and you give it some input and love and attention and time, then you will in the end get rewarded. And yeah, sometimes there's dead ends, but a lot of stuff is not dead ends.
But even the dead ends, how dead ends are the dead ends? Because you
still learn
but
something.
I'd say you're discovering where the edges are. That's what you're doing. You're discovering where the edges are. So if you get to that point and that doesn't go any further for you, you can come back and go another direction. That's just the edge now, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's important to with my kids, I talk about it all the time about like the failures are as important. The attempting and not working out is just important as the working out. Like when you see the person lifting the weight at the Olympics or crossing the finish line, that's the culmination of millions of failures, especially weightlifting.
Exactly, yeah. And you just got to keep going and going again. I'll tell you what, right now, like I'll give you a sneak peek. Who knows if it'll ever come out? But I'm working on Kashmir at the moment. It's so close to being done, but there's a few bits I just can't. Never mind, I can't sing like Robert Plant, so I'll have to figure that bit out later.
What that later?
But like I've 90% got it there. It's just like it needs that little.
Because singing against the rhythm of that guitar, that for me straight away you say that. My head's thinking, how would I go? How am I going to sing against that? That would be the thing. Mate. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
I just about managed to get the singing down for the verses, but it's the mid sections and the outro where it's just like flummoxing me a little bit.
Yeah.
And probably what it is that I probably need to find someone to help me, just like to play some lead over it, like something like that. Or maybe I need to simplify it. Maybe I'm overcomplicating it, and I don't know what it is. But I know I'm like right there. I'm like so close.
But the day you find the key to unlock that's going to be so satisfying. When you work out, that's what it was. That's what it was. That was the thing.
Exactly. It might be I need a capo on the second fret or something like that.
Just something.
Could be anything.
It's almost something simple, isn't it? Like a little simple thing that clicks. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, one big thing that really changed my playing, which I don't even know when I decided to do this, but like because my blues voice, which is my natural voice, and I feel
quite Tom Waitsy. I felt that sort of the huskiness, kind of growly, sort of
like all the old school blues musicians that I loved, and a bit of the metal in there. But Phil Anselmo.
Well, when you said Pantera, I was like, I can hear the influence a little bit now in there. Yeah, it makes sense.
I tune my guitar down a step to D standard now.
I did notice that when you were tuning up. I noticed the tune. I was like, okay.
And it just works better for me. And it's a bit annoying because when I jam with other people, it throws them off.
Yeah.
So I either have to go up or they just have to make do.
make do.
And very often they do. They just enjoy the challenge. So it's great. I mean, I can, relatively speaking, I can like sort of play leads over a lot of things, so I can usually jam with a lot of people. I'm not very good at figuring out chords, but if I can figure out the key, then I can add color really easily. So
would you say you're like an ear-driven player? Like you're not necessarily going to sit and analyze what you're doing. You just play what you hear and what you feel. Is that how would you say? Or?
Partially, yeah. I mean, I'm terrible at the theory. I know my pentatonics and my major scales and the minor scale. That's about it. Other than that, I just I know the shapes though. If people say, "Oh, play the third or play the fifth," I'm like, can't help you, mate. So what's the shape? Is it a diamond? Is it a triangle? Is it an E shape? Is it an A shape? That kind of thing. And if I can figure that out, then I can get there. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm better at lead, because all I need to do is figure out the key, and then I know my scales, and I know how I can play around a little bit outside of it.
So you see the scale on the fretboard as as natural, like a diamond shape or a square shape or whatever.
So when I was trying to learn my scales, I was really struggling, and I figured out a method where if I just printed off a blank fretboard, and then I was like, okay, I'm doing A major scale, and I'd find the octaves, and then I'd build in the other notes. So visually and shape wise, I kind of know where it is, and my fingers kind of know it now. So that's how I ended up learning. But the limitation of that method is, I don't do third space. I can't do
Yeah, but
musical language, but it's got me where I am, and it was what I needed to
it's
get to the
fascinating
next
because
step.
you're such an accomplished guitar player, but to find it behind there's like a self-taught sort of framework system you put in
Yeah,
yourself. That's fascinating, man.
yes, sir.
That's an interesting way to go. And then, again, this is like music, isn't it? You meet people and everyone's doing it a different way, and people come to it a
Yeah.
different way. And
Not everyone can afford to have the best teachers, or they don't have the
no,
time, or if they just don't get it. Like
well,
I
obviously
find it hard to get
you're
myself.
probably like me. You're pre-internet, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's no going on YouTube. It's a book. It's
That's
going
it.
to the library and looking at pictures and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Or get a teacher, or like
Yeah,
buy an incorrect tab book. Or I
yeah,
was learning a lot actually in the early days of the internet when tabs started coming out, like
yeah,
Olga.net, I think it
yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah. I think so.
or then
Yeah,
Ultimate Guitar came and took
ultimately, yeah,
over, and like 90% of it's wrong because it's like some Brazilian kid or like some, and they're just doing their version. It's the wrong key or whatever, and it
yeah,
throws you because it doesn't fit with the song you're playing over it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now you've got the absolute privilege of so many people who just like for love or money or whatever reason they're doing it, they'll teach you how to play the damn song.
Well, a guy on a gig showed me this app he had, and you can literally load up the app, and it listens to what's been played, and then just the tab comes across in real time across the bottom, so you
Really,
can listen to anything, and it will tab it for you in real time. It's just like
really,
AI, yeah, it's an AI thing. It's like
it's a
it's just
brave
gone.
new world, guys.
It's moving away from me very, very quickly. Look, Cyrus, wicked to meet you,
And you,
and look, we'll see you again.
yeah,
Hopefully,
man,
have more things.
much appreciated.
Loving it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep meeting people, talking to people. I'm going to keep growing this thing. A Manners Music Project, open mics are a never-ending well of fascinating people, incredible musicians. I will see you soon. Take care.